Welcome to the Story of Money by Ash Stewart. Episode 005. Is capital just money? Let's get to the very bottom of why money makes the world go around.
So far, in a series about money, I've never once mentioned the C word. More than the terms money or profit, capital is perhaps the most loaded one in the field. But let's look at what capital really is. Now for an extremely brief fictional detour. In fact, you get to hear the full story when pécu 48 goes live, where these ideas are dealt with in some more depth. But the gist of it is that Steve, Bryan, Brenda, and Irene are making great strides in their business, rearing livestock and selling them on the big market day every month. The problem is how to keep count of things because the sales and the stock are growing. As you'll see in that episode, they decide to take stock by counting the heads of the cows they own. Now that might seem weird, but keep that in your head, for it'll very soon make sense.
Getting a head start.
Let's first go back in time, 5,000 years, no less, to the Proto-Indo-Europeans who we met in pécu 15, and occasionally after. We saw in that episode that what distinguished them, who at that time inhabited the Pontic-Caspian steppe and were soon to spread their genes, and especially language, across a vast expanse of Eurasia, from Ireland and Britain on the one end to Persia and India on the other. From other groups they encountered was their extensive domestication and utilization of livestock, cows in particular, as I've described in detail there. Let's consider their word pécu, meaning livestock, which is seen in many descendant languages, but I'll mention three. In Sanskrit, it became páśu, with the same meaning. In Latin, it became pécu, whence are words such as pecuniary and impecunious. And in Proto-Germanic, it became fehu, whence the modern English word fee. So it's not hard to see the, pecuniary or monetary connotations of livestock. And by now you can see that our fictional story was in fact not entirely fictional. The ancient habit of counting cow heads led to the Latin word form for head being applied to the concept capital. Similar to per capita. And that's it. Let's say it out loud. That's capital. Full marks for getting it right. Not you, Groucho. In fact, the words cattle and chattel are evolved forms of the same word, capital. But now that we've milked the etymological cash cow to the max, let's move on.
Capital gains.
But I trust that backstory still illuminates something. That capital is more than just money. In fact, if you think back to episode 001, we can even say money is not capital. It would be inaccurate to conflate capital with just cash. Fundamentally, it refers to resources, and specifically, in our context, the resources we put to work to, as we saw in episode 004, create value. And that's what drives the entire engine of the economy, from the simple act, as we saw last time, of making an edible meal from raw ingredients to the most complex industrial process. While some might say we're splitting hairs here, this distinction and its clarification are important. Taken together with the other concepts we've covered so far, such as money, i.e. currency, a measure of value, the market, the pricing mechanism, and value creation, and its measure, i.e. profit. This, I hope, should sharpen our understanding of how the economic engine works. And this reframing is also crucial for other concepts I'll be covering in this series, which will be building on top of this. Even complex ones will grab the bull by the horns. Having dealt with cows a fair bit, let's finally also tackle the elephant in the room. The word capital and its derivatives such as capitalism and capitalist conjure up a whole range of emotions. As I've reiterated, my objective here is not take one ideological stand or another, but simply present the core fundamentals so we can consider these concepts more adroitly without having to get a graduate degree in economics or finance. So yes, while capitalism and capitalist may sound hard to stomach for some of us, I'll offer alternatives to the same things: resource management and resource person.